it's a legal requirement that you take safety seriously and systemise your management actions. And part of that is really embedding that in your culture so that you can be confident that things will happen when nobody's watching. It's good business to be a safe business. In many markets, companies won't deal with you unless you take safety seriously. And thirdly, and probably most important, is just the basic human and ethical suggestion that people should be able to expect to go home safely at the end of their workday, and we all have a responsibility, but particularly management, but everyone in an organisation really needs to take it seriously to deliver on that. Probably the best guideline, I think, for someone who really wants to attack this seriously is the due diligence principles in the harmonised work health and safety legislation that applies in 7 of the 9 states and territories in Australia. The principles are really understand safety, educate yourself about what's happening in safety, understand the risks that a company or an organisation can create for its employees and those who interact with it, understand the duties that you have under legislation, have a system in place, a management system to deal with it, be able to tick off on the other obligations you have, such as being able to notify accidents and understand your first aid kit requirements and things like that. And finally, have an interest in checking whether these things in place. Time and time again, a lot of companies get themselves in trouble, not because they didn't do anything, but sometimes the things that they didn't go back and check whether they were working the way they expected them to. So that's the legislative basis. The deeper cultural things, I think, go to engagement. They go to engagement with employees, really having a shared understanding that you do want to work safely and that everyone has a responsibility. It's different for management as opposed to workers, but there is that shared responsibility, and if you walk the talk, people will generally go with you. Well, any professional needs to keep abreast of current developments, whether they're legislative or the practices that their peers and the leading organisations are showing. As I said earlier, there's a legislative requirement under due diligence for those that are in charge of organisations to keep abreast of broadly of safety things and issues like mental health, which is moving ahead so much now and is an issue that we're all some ways struggling to get our heads around. The quicker that we do that and the more we share information, and a really efficient way to get across a lot of information is through these kind of conferences.